Hi, it's Summer, and this is going to be my May, June, and July wrap-up. I clearly let wrap-ups get away from me, so I'm going to be majorly catching up in this video. Since I have literally so many books that I need to cover in this video, I think the way that I want to format it is by doing this kind of like trend that's happening on like Reels and TikTok, where you hold up a book that you've read and you either give it a yes, no, or maybe on if you would recommend it to your audience. That way I don't have to get like too crazy with like my thoughts and stuff, because I know if I do that for each book, I'm just gonna talk forever. For a few books that I really enjoyed, or maybe even like really hated, maybe I will go into more detail for a few of them, but that's kind of my plan for this video. If you end up wanting more of a substantial review for a certain book, I do write reviews for each book that I read on Goodreads and Fable. They're not usually the longest or most eloquent reviews, but I do kind of put some of my favorite and least favorite things, tropes, that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna go in chronological order. So the first book that I read in May was I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrew. This is YA horror. I gave it 2.5 stars, and I think I would maybe recommend this one. After that, I read The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. I think you could call this cozy fantasy. I gave it 3 stars, and I'm gonna give this one a maybe as well. Next is City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. This is fantasy. I gave it 2.5 stars. There are going to be a lot of books with similar ratings on this list because I was in a really bad, not slump, but I just was not reading books that I liked, so just sit tight, things get better towards June and July. So 2.5 stars. For this one, I would say if you are new to the genre and you haven't read like the kind of main staple fantasy books, I would say yes to this one for recommending it. If you are a seasoned fantasy reader, I would say no. After that was One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Looking back on it though, I might give it 4 stars. I have found myself kind of thinking about this one like even months after reading it, so I would say yes, I do recommend it. Next was May Luna by Kelly McNeil. I gave this one 1 star. I absolutely do not recommend this book. We read this one for my in-person book club. It was supposed to be kind of giving like Daisy Jones and the Six, but set in the 90s, which it did have those vibes, but I absolutely despised the main character. She just like straight up ruined people's lives, and you're supposed to like feel bad for her. Pretty much all of us in book club hated the book. It just made me so angry. The only kind of redeeming quality for this one is that the writing was good, but even that isn't enough to make me maybe pick up something else by this author in the future. I just like hated the book. So yeah, I do not recommend it. After that, I did a reread of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave this one 4 stars, and I would recommend it. Next, I read Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. I gave this one 4 stars, and I would recommend it. It was really cute. Next, I read The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I gave this one 3.5 stars, and I think I would recommend it. That one is like a maybe to yes for the recommendation. After that, I read Terms and Conditions, which is the sequel, also by Lauren Asher. I gave it 2 stars. I don't think I would recommend it. After that, I wanted to continue with the billionaire romance trope, so I picked up Tempt Me by Nina West. I gave it 1.5 stars. I don't recommend it. Next, I picked up Silver Elite by Danny Francis. I read this one because of the hype and the kind of like controversy around it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I gave it 4 stars, and I think I would recommend it. Next, I read Savor It by Tara DeWitt. I gave it 3 stars, and I think I would recommend it. I honestly kind of feel like I could probably bump the rating of this one up. I don't really remember a ton about the book as far as like the plot, but I do remember the vibes, and I feel like it's at least like a 3.5. I'm going to continue in the series for sure. After that, I picked up Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This one is a fantasy that does not take itself too seriously. The characters are really funny. I gave this one 4 stars, and I would recommend it. After that, I read a poetry collection called Love, Loss, and Everything in Between. I gave this one 2 stars. It kind of felt like in an attempt to make the poems relatable. Most of them were simplified to the point of not being unique. Each poem just kind of felt the same, not only to each other, but also to like other poems that I've read. A lot of them also just kind of felt lazy. So unfortunately, I would not recommend it. After that, I read Crushing It by Thea Lawrence. I gave this one 3 stars. I was so sad that I didn't give this one a higher rating because I really wanted to love it. For this one, I think I would say maybe. I think if you like the tropes that are in it, like road trip, friends to lovers, there's also a little bit of like fake dating, I would say maybe give it a try. Also though, friends to lovers I think is my #1 favorite romance trope, so I really thought that would mean that it was for me, but it just didn't work for some reason. So I don't know. maybe. This next one is really controversial. It's The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I thought it was predictable and I didn't really connect to any of the characters. I also didn't really understand the point of the plot or like the adventure that they were on. I was also just like a little bit bored. I know that that's an unpopular opinion, so I feel like I would just say maybe for this one. Give it a try, but if you're not feeling it in the first few chapters, DNF it. After that, I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I gave it 3 stars, and I do think that I would recommend this one. I liked the first one enough to want to continue in the series. After that, I read Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. I gave it 2.5 stars. Honestly, without looking at the synopsis, I don't remember what this book was about. I don't recommend it. There are better thrillers out there. Next, I read Her Soul to Take by Harley Leroux. My husband actually found this one for me because I told him that I wanted like a dark romance, and so he like did his own research and like found a couple of books for me. I gave this one 3.5 stars, but honestly, I think I could maybe bump it up to 4. I've thought back about this book multiple times. It's for sure not like a literary masterpiece, but it was a fun, dark, smutty time. It's a paranormal romance with like demons, and it honestly kind of gave me Twilight vibes a tiny bit. If you like this genre, I recommend it. After that, I read Guild by Raven Kennedy. I gave it 1 star. I should have DNF'd it. I hated it. I do not recommend it. I actually do want to read my review for this one. I said the on-page essay and was excessive, unnecessary, and really uncomfortable to read. I pushed through thinking that the plot would get better and the essay scenes would lessen, but it stayed the exact same from start to finish. I normally like when fantasy books have grit, but this was not it. I could see the next books in the series potentially getting better and this just being the brutal setup for it, but I don't care to continue. This is a pretty popular series, so I know that a lot of people really love it, and to each their own. I thought it was a really cool like idea, but it just unfortunately did not work for me. So if my review kind of resonates with you with things that you also don't really like in books, I would steer clear of this one. After that really dark book, I needed something just kind of like fun. So I read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I gave this one 4 stars and I really liked it and I recommend it. After that, I read Dream on Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake, who's one of my favorite romance authors. I'm so sad because I gave it 2 stars and I don't recommend it. I loved the Bright Falls series though, so definitely don't not read anything from this author. Just don't read this one. After that are the books that I read for Summerween, which I have a whole vlog for, so if you want to go check that out and get more like in-depth thoughts for any of these next few books, I'll link the video in the cards and in the description. The first book that I read for Summerween though was From Below by Darcy Coates. I gave this one 2 stars. It's like a deep sea horror book. I would maybe recommend this one. It wasn't for me though. After that, I picked up Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This cover is so cute. I gave this one 3 stars. It was cute, but the pacing wasn't my favorite. It just kind of felt a little bit too long. And it also just felt really busy and like it was trying to do too much. I feel like a lot of people really love this one, so I think it might have just been like a me thing. So for this one, I would say maybe. After that, I read Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. This one is a shorter horror book. I gave it 2.5 stars. This one is like a no to maybe. If the premise sounds interesting to you, maybe just try it. I think my list might be like slightly out of order because I think I read this actually before Summerween. It doesn't really matter. I just didn't talk about this one really in my Summerween vlog. This is An Ancient Witch's Guide to Modern Dating by Cecilia Edward. I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. This was the first book in literally months that I gave 5 stars. I did make a video about like trying to find a 5-star read, so I'll link that one in the cards and in the description too. So there are definitely more like in-depth thoughts for this one there. This one is cozy fantasy about the main character named Thorn Scarheart. She is a 39-year-old witch who's having trouble landing a husband in the 17th century, despite the help of a local matchmaker and an arsenal of love potions. One of her potions backfires and sends her to the 21st century, and so she has to adjust to like modern living and technology, and she's also trying to find a husband in this day and age with like online dating and stuff like that. It was silly and sweet but also heartwarming. I loved the found family. The romance was really cute. There are talking cats. It was everything. I loved it. I actually think that I reread this too. I read it twice. I loved it that much. It's so good. Perfect for like spooky season coming up. So yes, I absolutely recommend it. We're getting back into the Summerween books. So next I read Best Hex Ever by Nadia El Fassi. Another 5-star witchy book. I loved this. I talk way more about it in my Summerween vlog. This one is about a kitchen witch named Dina who has a curse that any of her partners will have bad luck when they are dating her. So as you can imagine, she's having bad luck in the romance department. And that gets even more complicated when she meets Scott, because they kind of immediately hit it off and they kind of keep running into each other. The magic in this one is just so warm and cozy. The female friendship was one of my other favorite parts. There's actually a sequel to this one, or like a companion novel following one of the friends from this book, who's a horror author. There were just so many things in this book that I loved. I absolutely recommend this one so much. Please go read it, especially like it would be so perfect for like Halloween. After that, I read The Scourge Between Stars. This one is sci-fi horror. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was well written and I love this genre of horror, but it didn't really feel very unique. For this one, I'm going to say that I maybe recommend it. After that, I read Sheets by Brenna Thumler. I gave this one 3 stars. I liked it, it just wasn't like my perfect graphic novel. I would still recommend it though. After that, I picked up The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This is a horror short story. I gave it 4 stars and I would recommend it. After that, I read Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I gave it 1.5 stars. I honestly kind of wish that I would have DNF'd it. It made me feel really uncomfortable and I just kind of don't really feel like it was worth it to stick with it. So I'm going to say no, I don't recommend it. After that, I read The Art of Vanishing. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I was really highly anticipating this one. I had really high hopes for it, but unfortunately the execution just wasn't really there for me. For this one, I think I would say that I maybe recommend it. It's magical realism set in a museum where the main character can be pulled into the artwork. So I would say if that sounds interesting to you, give it a try. After that, I read another 5-star witchy book, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I loved this. I actually read it twice. Right after I finished reading it, I just restarted it. This was so good and everything that I would ever want from a cozy magical book. This one is about a witch who has lost the majority of her power and she runs a magical inn. The people that stay at this inn or that are like long-term residents at this inn are really kind of weird and quirky, but they're a family. The plot was really interesting and kept the story moving, but the main reason that I loved it was just like the vibes. I also just loved the romance. It was just so healthy and sweet, and also just the found family. The found family was so good. There's a semi-villainous talking fox. There's a guy who works at a medieval like reenactment kind of place and he keeps his knight persona even after he's done working. There was awesome mental health representation. I also really appreciated the autism representation. This honestly is like a 6-star book for me, so I obviously really highly recommend it. Sorry for the jump scare with the change of camera setup. I'm currently editing this video though, and I realized that I completely forgot to include one of the books that I read in July. I read Tenderly I Am Devoured. I had this as an arc and I was so excited about it, but I think this was a case of me having too high of expectations. I only gave this one 2 stars. I do think that I would still recommend it though, but don't be afraid to DNF if you're not loving it. And then the last book that I read in July was Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Cher Lee. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think that I would maybe even bump it up to a 4.5. I've kept thinking about this one after reading it. I also actually tried a mooncake for the first time pretty soon after reading this book, so that's kind of fun. It was very good. It was from a local bakery here in Vegas. I definitely would get one again. Anyway though, this was a really sweet book. It's YA romance. The main character's mom has recently passed away, so he is living with his extended family and working in their restaurant. There's a mooncake competition coming up that his mom had wanted to enter with him, but she passed away before they could compete together. So he is going to be competing with his aunt. They're trying to replicate a family recipe that they don't actually have the hard copy of. They're just kind of trying to do their best. So there's a lot of food and baking in this one, which was one of my favorite elements of the book, and it was also really great to learn more about Chinese culture through cooking and baking. That's really only like half of the story though, because the other side is this romance that the main character is having with this guy who they kind of start off on the wrong foot and they kind of end up like fake dating. Lately I've been having a hard time with fake dating. It kind of is more frustrating to me. This book though did it right. I really liked how the fake dating was done. I think this is marketed as Crazy Rich Asians meets Heartstopper, and I definitely agree with that. I definitely recommend it. Those are all the books that I read over the last 3 months. These 3 books and Fake Dates and Mooncakes were definitely my favorite books of the last few months. I think after talking about Fake Dates and Mooncakes and putting them up with these books, it's definitely a 4.5, if not higher maybe. I feel like I need more time with it to kind of like fully decide, but I really loved all 4 of those books. In the comments, leave a fox emoji if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Appalachian sunrise.